doubles vendors and roti makers. Try our high-quality unbleached bromate-free all-purpose and baker's flour. Low price and conveniently packaged in 2 pounds, 2 kg, 10 kg, and 25 kg bags. For wholesale and retail prices, contact Shiklisha Limited, 665-3336, or visit us at Warrenville, Canupia. Shiklisha Limited, quality you can trust.
Assalamu alaikum, good evening guys, and welcome to C Results. I'm Miss Nyla, and today you are joining me for English Language Arts and Creative Writing. Welcome to all our viewers, whether you are joining us from the comfort of your homes or you are with us on our live stream on Facebook via the C Results page or the IBN TV 8 page. Welcome guys. I hope that you're having a great day. So today we are going to be continuing with our ELA practice test paper. So yesterday we were able to complete section 1, so our spelling, punctuation, capitalization, and grammar, and we barely got started with our comprehension passage. So that's what we are going to go back today with. So we're going to read over the passage first, and then we will open the lines and continue with calls to complete this task. All right, guys, so let's go straight to it. So the passage here was actually a non-fiction based on the importance of coral reefs. So we're just going to read it over, and then we're going to move ahead. People often think of corals as plants because they remain in one place throughout their lives. However, these amazing creatures are in fact animals. They are filter feeders, meaning that they consume tiny particles floating in the water. This cleans the water, making it clearer and improving the quality. Coral reefs are areas in the ocean where a range of corals live. In the Caribbean, coral reefs can be found along the coasts of Tobago, Cuba, Hispaniola, and Jamaica. They are quite beautiful and look like underwater cities. These areas support a wide range of life. In fact, more than 25% of marine life inhabit coral reefs. It is no wonder they are called the rainforests of the sea. These rainforests of the sea are essential for the continuation of life. Fishermen, and therefore us, the consumers, depend on coral reefs. Fish spawn there and their young ones inhabit the area, feeding on algae until they are old enough to swim to open waters. In turn, larger fish that are predators such as tuna, groupers, and barracudas feed on the small fish there to survive. Other animals such as lobsters, octopuses, sea turtles, shellfish, and dolphins also depend on the reefs for various reasons, such as food, shelter, and protection from predators. Another use of coral reefs is to reduce the strength of waves and to protect the shoreline from storms. They protect houses and other buildings that are built close to the shore from being damaged by coastal erosion. In 50 years, the coral reefs in the region have decreased by 80%. The main reason seems to be coral disease caused by human activities such as pollution, bad water quality, and coastal development. Caribbean nations therefore have put regulations to protect these areas, known as Marine Protected Areas, MPAS for short. Right, and to the bottom here, you have an image showing your corals, and then if you pay close attention specifically to this part, there's a plastic bottle thrown there, right? So we're going to go back to that image. later down in the passage, because of course, you know, if an image is given in your comprehension or your poetry or graphic, you have to pay close attention to it. It is there for a reason, right? So we were just able to complete probably the first couple questions yesterday, and we were actually on question 24. So we're going to open the lines, and we're going to continue with our questions, right? So question 24 reads, give 2 ways coral reefs help marine life, right? So the numbers are there to the bottom of your screen. Feel free, guys, to call us and help us complete this task. And we have a caller to help us. Good evening. Welcome to See Results.
Hi.
Hi, good evening. Welcome. Who am I speaking with?
Zafira back.
Hi, Zafira. So give 2 ways coral reefs help marine life.
Can you go back to the passage, please?
Sure.
Can you go back to the question?
Yes. Give 2 ways coral reefs help marine life. Should I go back to the passage now?
Yeah. It could help by giving protection from predators and giving food.
Great. Great job. Right? So that's 2 of the
to all
many
sea
reasons.
creatures.
Can you repeat that, please?
It gives shelter, protection, and food for all marine animals.
Okay, excellent job, Zafira. Thank you so much for calling.
You're welcome.
Right, so you had a couple answers you could have given here. The question just asked for 2. So they provide shelter for marine life, they provide food, and additionally they provide protection from predators. Name 3 Caribbean islands where coral reefs are found. Right, so this is a literal question. This answer is literally in the passage. Right, let's take this call to help us. Good evening. Welcome to See Results.
Hi, good evening.
Hi, good evening. Who am I speaking with?
Good.
Welcome. So would you like to read this question and then I'll go to the passage for you?
Yes.
Okay, so let me know when you are ready, okay?
I'm ready.
Okay.
You can go to the passage.
Yes. Is it on your screen?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Coral reefs can be found in Tobago, Cuba, Hispaniola.
Excellent job. Thank you for calling.
You're welcome.
Right, so of course they can be found in Tobago, Cuba, Hispaniola, and even Jamaica. Right, of course the question asks for 3. I put all 4 here because any of those will be correct. In your own words, describe how fishermen depend on coral reefs. Right, so this answer, of course, is in the passage. Based on what you have read is how you interpret the information now. That's important. That's how you're going to put it into your own words. So let's take this call. So good evening. Welcome to See Results.
Hi, good afternoon.
Hi, good evening. Who am I speaking with?
Juliana.
Hi, Juliana. Welcome. So did you read the question?
Yes.
Okay, and should I go to the passage for you, or do you think you have an answer?
Can you go to the passage, please?
Sure. Oh, actually, just give me 1 second. So you can go ahead and read through, look for your answer.
Thank you. Okay, I think I have my answer.
Go ahead. You can go ahead and share your answer.
Can you go back to the question?
Yes. I will do so shortly.
Question.
Right. Can you see it now?
No, it's still switching.
Okay. Just give it a second.
Okay. Okay, I'm now seeing it.
Okay.
Okay. Fishermen depend on corals on coral reefs because you can go back to the passage, please.
Sure. It's there for you.
Okay. Fishermen depend on coral reefs because fish spawn there and it will fish spawn there and the young ones inhabit the area.
Right. Why do they inhabit the area? What's the reason for that?
Because they feed on algae until they are old enough to swim to open waters.
Great job. Thank you so much for calling.
You're welcome.
Right, so fishermen depend on coral reefs since fish reproduce there, and the large fish, which fishermen sell, feed on young ones living in the coral reefs. Of course, your answer does not need to be as intricate as this, but the basics you must have, right? So fishermen depend on the coral reefs for food. Moving on, study the image given in the passage and describe the problem that coral reefs face. All right, so let's take this call. Good evening. Welcome to See Results.
Oh, hello.
Hi, good evening. Welcome.
Thank you.
Are you there, caller?
What? Excuse me?
Who am I speaking with?
Chris.
Okay, welcome. So can you read the question?
No, can you read it out to me, please?
Sure. Study the image given in the passage and describe the problem that coral reefs face. So I'm going to go to the image there. Are you seeing it?
Yes, I am.
Okay. So we're studying this image here, and we want to know what is the problem caused, or what is the problem happening here?
The problem happening here is coral reefs are being diseased, are dying by diseases caused by human activities.
Okay, but specifically, which human activity in this case?
Pollution.
Pollution. Excellent job. That's the answer we're looking for, okay?
Yes, welcome.
Thank you. Right, so the problem being highlighted is pollution. Another problem that coral reefs face is coastal development or even bad water quality. But according to the image here, if you just focus on the image, you will notice a plastic bottle thrown into the coral reef. Suggest 2 ways that humans can prevent the complete loss of coral reefs. Use information in the passage to help you. Good evening. Welcome to See Results.
Hello?
Hi, good evening. Welcome. Who am I speaking with?
Regan.
Hi, Regan. So would you like to read this question for us, and then I'll turn to the passage?
Sure. Suggest 2 ways that humans can prevent the complete loss of coral reefs. Use the information in the passage to help you.
Okay.
You can just go back to the passage, please.
Sure.
So 2 ways humans could prevent is by cleaning up as much pollution on the reefs
Right.
and trying not to make the water quality as bad because it could kill the fish and kill the coral too.
Okay, so let's just go back to pollution a second. When you say stop, can you repeat what you said about pollution?
They should try to stop. They should try to not cause as much pollution and try cleaning up the reefs.
Right, so it said cleaning up, right? So therefore we should not do what? When we visit the beaches and so on, we should not do what with our garbage?
Throw it into the water.
Right. In other words, we should not litter
Pollute
or
the
pollute.
seas.
Excellent. Thank you so much for calling.
Sure.
right? So don't litter or pollute the environment, and we must be mindful when developing near the coastline, right? So I'm just going to go back to this answer shortly with bad water quality, as the caller said, but with coastal development, we're talking about infrastructure here, right? Building on coastlines, right? That is, of course, going to have a negative impact on our coastal or the coastlines. And bad water quality here can refer to pollution, again, in the ocean. So maybe an oil spill, right? So that is the end of our comprehension passage. So we have completed the first task in section 2. We are going to move on. We're going to move on to our next task, which is poetry. So again, we're going to read the poem together, and then I'm going to open the lines, and we're going to complete this task. All right, so let's read. The Unseen Playmates by Robert Louis Stevenson. We may have to zoom in, guys, a bit. Yes, thank you. When children are playing alone on the green, in comes the playmate that never was seen. When children are happy and lonely and good, the friend of the children comes out of the wood. Nobody heard him and nobody saw. His is a picture you never could draw, but he is sure to be present abroad or at home when children are happy and playing alone. He lies in the laurels, he runs on the grass. He sings when you tinkle the musical glass. Whenever you are happy and cannot tell why, the friend of the children is sure to be by. He loves to be little, he hates to be big. It is he that inhabits the caves that you dig. It is he, when you play with your soldiers of tin, that sides with the Frenchmen and never can win. It is he, when at night you go off to your bed, bids you go to sleep and not trouble your head. For wherever they are lying, in cupboard or shelf, it is he will take care of your playthings himself. Right? So I am just going to reread this poem. We usually don't, but it's a little bit longer than the ones we usually come across, so I want everyone to follow, right? So let's go ahead and read this again. The Unseen Playmate. When children are playing alone on the green, in comes the playmate that never was seen. When children are happy and lonely and good, the friend of the children comes out of the wood. Nobody heard him and nobody saw. His is a picture you never could draw, but he is sure to be present abroad or at home when children are happy and playing alone. He lies in the laurels, he runs on the grass. He sings when you tinkle the musical glass. Whenever you are happy and cannot tell why, the friend of the children is sure to be by. He loves to be little, he hates to be big. It is he that inhabits the caves that you dig. It is he, when you play with your soldiers of tin, that sides with the Frenchmen and never can win. It is he, when at night you go off to your bed, bids you go to sleep and not trouble your head. For wherever they're lying, in cupboard or shelf, it is he will take care of your playthings himself. Right? So you have to ensure that you understand what you have read. Right? And I always say this, and I can't stress it enough, read your poem or your passage or your graphic as many times as needed. Right? Let's go to the first question there. Of course, the lines are going to be reopened. Write 2 lines in the poem that tell the reader that the playmates is never seen. And we have a call on the line. Good evening. Welcome to See Results.
Hi.
Hi, good evening. Who am I speaking with?
Regan again.
Okay, welcome back. So, would you like to read the question, then I'll go to the poem for you?
Sure. Write 2 lines in the poem that tell the reader that the playmate is never seen.
And we're just going to zoom in on this poem for you here. Let us know if you would like us to scroll down, okay?
Okay. Okay, so 2 lines are nobody heard him and nobody saw.
Excellent job. Thank you for your call, Reagan. Right? In comes the playmate that never was seen. Nobody heard him, nobody saw. So these are your options here. His is a picture you never can draw, right? Because nobody saw him, you do not know what he looks like. Moving on, explain why the playmate cannot be seen. We have another caller. Good evening. Welcome to See Results.
Hi, good evening.
Hi, welcome. Who am I speaking with? Good evening, caller.
Hello?
Hi, who am I speaking with? Okay, I think I lost that call. Just a reminder, guys, please lower the volume on the television set and listen to me on the phone, okay? Usually when we are doing poetry, we usually analyze the poem, or at least when we were just learning how to answer questions and how to interpret the poem, that's the approach we took. Right, so if you're one that has difficulty with understanding a poem, please refer to our videos on YouTube, our poetry videos. Not only does it help with analyzing a poem and understanding the language of a poem, but also with answering questions, okay? So maybe we will do that with the other poem that we do. Good evening, welcome to See Results.
Hi, good evening.
Hi, who am I speaking with?
Zafira again.
Hi, Zafira. So would you like to read this question and I'll turn to the poem for you?
Yes, please.
Okay. So, did you read the question already?
Yes, explain why the playmates cannot be seen.
Okay, great. Why do you think that the playmate cannot be seen?
I think he couldn't be seen because nobody heard or saw him.
Yes, but why?
I'm still reading the poem.
Okay.
Can you go to the last stanza, please?
Sure.
I think he couldn't be seen because he's invisible.
He's invisible or also imaginary. Can you repeat that?
Transparent.
Transparent. Okay, all right. I'll take that answer, but also because he may be imaginary, okay?
Okay,
Thank you so much for calling. So, not only is he invisible, but also he's a figment of children's imagination. The playmate cannot be seen because he exists in children's imagination. Right? What sense is appealed to in the line, he sings when you tinkle the musical glass? Let's take this call. Good evening. Welcome to See Results. Hi, good evening, caller.
Hi, good evening.
Hi, welcome. Who am I speaking to?
Good.
Okay, so welcome back. Would you like to read this question for us?
Yes. What sense is appealed to in the line, he sings when you tinkle the music glass?
Okay, so that is on line 10.
Line 10.
Right. So what sense is appealed to here? Are you there? Okay, we lost that call. Good evening. Welcome to See Results.
Hi, good evening.
Hi, welcome. Who am I speaking with?
Regan again. Hi.
Okay, so let's just go back to the question there. What sense is appealed to in the line, he sings when you tinkle the musical glass? Line 10. So I'm just going to go to line 10 for you.
Oh, that line appeals to the sense of sound.
Sense of sound. Okay, that is correct.
No, the sense of hearing, sorry.
Right, that is exactly what I wanted you to say. Thank you so much for calling.
You're welcome.
The
Bye.
sense of hearing is appealed to in the line, he sings when you tinkle the musical glass. Right, so not only sings, the word sings, but also tinkle and the word musical there. Write the meaning of the word present in line 7 and write one other meaning of the word. So here your vocabulary skills are coming into play. Good evening, welcome to See Results. Good evening, caller, welcome. Okay, we lost that call there. So I'm going to go ahead and answer this question until we have another call. Write the meaning of the word present in line 7 and write one other meaning of the word. So I'm going to go to line 7. Usually when they refer to a specific line, how you should go about answering such a question, you should read the entire stanza so that you have the full meaning to the back of your mind, right? Ensure that you understand what you are reading. Nobody heard him and nobody saw. His is a picture you never can draw, but he's sure to be present abroad or at home when children are happy and playing alone, right? So we identify the word within the stanza, right? Meaning, so that word means to be in a certain place, right? It can also mean, or that other meaning, a present is a gift, or similarly, present can refer to a period of time happening now, right? So this is quite a familiar word. You are accustomed using this word. But also, if you weren't sure, of course, you can read the word in context, try to make the best meaning of it, and come up with your meaning for it yourself, or another meaning. Based on the details in the poem, identify 3 activities that the Playmates does with the children. Good evening. Welcome to See Results.
Crap.
Good evening. Welcome to See Results. Okay, I'm going to try that again. Right, the numbers are there to the bottom of your screen, guys. Please, I don't want you getting scared. You know, we are here together and we are learning together, okay? So don't be too anxious about it. Let's just give it a try, right? So I'm going to hold on for a call. In the meantime, I'm going to go back to the passage and we can probably answer this. So you're looking for 3 activities that the children or Playmates does with the children, right? So, of course, you can reread your entire poem. So let's take it stanza by stanza. When children are playing alone on the green, in comes the Playmate that never was seen. And I'm going to pause there because we do have a call to help us. Good evening. Welcome to See Results. Good evening, caller.
Hello, good evening.
Hi, welcome. Who am I speaking with?
Good evening, caller. Hello, good evening.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. So, did you read the question?
Yeah.
Hi, can you hear me, caller?
I don't hear you too good.
Okay, can you please just lower the volume on the television? And again, we lost that one. Good evening. Welcome to See Results.
Hi, good evening.
Hi, who am I speaking with?
Zafira.
So, Zafira, would you like to read this question, and then I'll go to the poem for you?
Yes, please.
Okay, go ahead.
Based on the details in the poem, identify 3 activities that the Playmate does with the children.
Identify, right? So we're looking at the activities here. You can go ahead and skim it through, and let me know when you're ready to answer.
Okay. He plays with them.
Right.
Can you go to the last stanza?
Yes.
He takes care of your playthings.
Can you repeat that one?
He takes care of your playthings.
Right. And one more.
He sings when you tinkle the musical grass.
Excellent job. Thank you for calling.
You're welcome.
Right, so he sings when they tinkle the musical glass. He lives in the caves that they dig. He plays with tin soldiers. Or he plays with tin soldiers with them. So, of course, your answer can vary here. There are many activities that you can mention. These are just some of them. Why do you think the Playmate can never win? Good evening. Welcome to See Results. Hi, good evening, caller.
Hello?
Hi, welcome. Who am I speaking with?
Hello?
Can you hear me?
Juliana.
Hi, Juliana. Would you like to read this question for us? Okay, so just a
Why
reminder,
do you think
Juliana,
the
please.
playmate can never win?
Okay, I'm just going to turn to the poem for you. And we're going to line 16.
The playmate can never win because he's imaginary.
Excellent job, Juliana. That is correct. Thank you for calling. Right, so the playmate can never win because he exists only in the children's imagination, or in other words, he's imaginary. And the children create games in which he loses and they always win. Right, the main idea of this answer is that he is imaginary. What do lines 19 and 20 suggest about children? All right, let's take this call. Good evening. Welcome to See Results. Hi,
Hello?
Hi, welcome. Who am I speaking with?
It's Chris again.
Okay, Chris, go ahead and read this question for us, and I'll turn to the poem.
What do lines 19 and 20 suggest about children?
And we're just going to scroll to the last stanza there.
The lines 19 and 20 means that the children put their toys away when they're going to bed, and kind?
Not quite. So the children are not the ones who put their toys away. Read over the entire stanza and try again. But you are close to it, though.
The unseen plaything puts the toys away.
Right. But what does that say about children? That they do what with their toys?
They just leave them lying wherever.
Exactly. Thank you so much for calling. Right, so sometimes you just have to read that question twice and, of course, read over the entire stanza. Make sure you understand. The line suggests that children do not clean up after themselves because they expect their imaginary friend to do it for them. Right, or children are messy, or they leave their toys lying around. Right, so that's any of those answers will be fine. Explain the reason for printing the friend of the children with capital letters. Good evening. Welcome to See Results. Hi, good evening, caller.
Hi, good afternoon.
Hi, welcome. Who am I speaking with?
Nicholas.
Hi, Nicholas. So would you like to read this question for us?
Yes, explain the reason for printing the friend of the children with capital letters. You can just go back to the poem.
Sure, and that is actually in stanza 1 and 3.
The reason why the friend of the children is printed in capital letters because it's to show emphasis.
Emphasis, excellent. Any other reasons why you write something in a capital letter?
No, I don't have any reason.
All right, Nicholas, thank you for calling.
Okay, you're welcome.
All right, so the friend of the children is printed with capital letters, not only for emphasis, also if you're looking for deeper meaning here, because it is the name of the poet, or it is the name the poet has given to the imaginary friend, right? And is therefore a proper noun. And I'm just going to go back here. When children are happy and lonely and good, the friend of the children comes out of the wood, right? So here we are saying, who is coming out of the woods here? Whenever, and again, it is repeated here, whenever you are happy and cannot tell why, the friend of the children is sure to be by, right? So in this instance, it is used as a name, not only for emphasis, but as a name, and therefore it's a proper noun. So any of those reasons, of course, would be correct. Why is the phrase, it is he, repeated in stanza 4 and 5? Good evening, welcome to See Results. Okay, we lost that one there. Just a reminder again, guys, please lower the volume on the television set, lower it, or you can even mute it, right? So why is the phrase, it is he, repeated in stanza 4 and 5? So let's go to stanza 4. He loves to be little, he hates to be big. It is he that inhabits the caves that you dig. It is he when you play with your soldiers of tin that sides with the Frenchman and never can win. And in stanza 5, it is he when at night you go off to your bed, bids you go to sleep and not trouble your head. for wherever they're lying, in cupboard or shelf, it is he will take care of your playthings himself. Right? So it is he is repeated to emphasize to the reader the many different things the imaginary friend does with the children. Yeah? And the final question here for our poem. Do you think it is acceptable to have an imaginary friend? Right? State why or why not. The numbers are there at the bottom of your screen. Call us, guys. I would like someone to help me with this final question. Good evening. Welcome to See Results. Hi, good evening.
Hello?
Hi, welcome.
Hello?
Hi, good evening. Who am I speaking with?
Hello?
Hi, good evening, caller. Can you hear me?
Zachary Julian.
Okay, so would you like to read this question for us and give us your answer?
Do you think it is acceptable to have an imaginary friend? State why or why not.
Okay, what do you think?
Yes, it is, so that you wouldn't be lonely all the time.
Okay, great job. Thank you for calling. That is correct, okay? So yes, I think it is acceptable to have an imaginary friend because it can make you feel happier and less lonely. Or even if you said no, you must justify your answer. So this question here, it's either yes or no, but it's how you explain your choice that matters, okay? So that brings us to the end of our poetry section, and we are moving on to graphic. Right, so this graphic here is a bit different than the ones that we came across recently with flyers and posters and advertisements and so on. Right, so this one is structured a bit differently. So we're going to read it through and then I'm going to open the lines. The making of coffee. Seeds are planted, coffee cherries are harvested, cherries are sent to the mill, cherries are dried and hulled, everything is removed besides the beans. So in brackets here, they gave the meaning for the word hulled. Beans are sold, actually, my error there. So cherries are dried and hulled, and then moving, we are following the arrow. Beans are sorted by size and weight. This is grading. Then beans are bagged, and beans are finally sold. Right, so in explaining this graphic here, how can you understand what is being said? Right, and I'm going to give a caller a chance to help me explain this a little bit. Good evening, welcome to See Results.
Hi, good afternoon.
Hi, welcome. Who am I speaking with?
Regan again.
Okay, so help me, Regan, here. What do you understand by this graphic here? You are seeing rectangles and arrows. Why is that?
So I understand by the graphic is the process of how coffee is produced and
Excellent.
sold.
Excellent. That's the word I wanted there. Process, right? And
Yeah.
I'm not going to ask any further questions about arrows because we do have a question about the arrows. Right?
Okay.
So help me with this first. Okay, hold on. Are you there, Regan?
Yeah, I'm right here.
Okay, right. So go ahead and read this question for us and you can answer it.
According to the diagram, how many steps are there in processing coffee? You can just go back to the graphic real quick, please.
Yes.
There are 7 steps.
7. Excellent job. Thank you for calling.
You're welcome. Bye.
Right, so there are 7 steps in processing coffee. How did we arrive at that answer? Simply by counting the boxes. Each box represents a step. Write 3 things done in the mill. Good evening. Welcome to See Results. Hi, good evening. Can you hear me, caller?
Hello?
Hi, welcome. Who am I speaking with?
Roshan Vasant.
Okay, welcome. So would you like to read this question and I'll go through the graphic?
Hold on, the TV a bit slow.
Okay, no problem. In the meantime, everyone at home should also be attempting each question. And I do hope that you are taking...
Could you go back to the graphic?
Yes.
This thing's...
Can you repeat that?
No.
Are you there?
No.
Call, are you there?
Yeah.
Okay.
The graphic now show up.
Okay. So we're looking for three things that
Cherries
happen.
are sent into the mill, and the cherries are dried and hulled.
Okay.
Hulled.
Okay, great job. Thank you for calling.
Yeah.
Right, so the cherries are dried or they are hulled. The beans from the cherries are sorted, which is also called grading, or the beans are bagged. Right, if we just go back to the graphic here, we'll say that cherries are sent to the mill. And here, cherries are dried and hulled, so that's two different things. Beans are sorted by size and weight, right? This is called grading. And before it is bagged. So that's how we know this is what happens in the mill. So beans are bagged is the next step there, or the step that is different from in the mill. In your own words, explain what the process of grading is. Let's take this call. Good evening. Welcome to See Results. Hi, good evening, caller.
Good evening.
Hi, who am I speaking with?
Juliana again.
So, Juliana, in your own words, explain what is the process or what the process of grading is.
Can you go back to the graphic, please?
Yes.
In my own word, grading means that the beans are sorted out into different sections by size and weight.
That's great, Juliana. Thank you for calling.
You're welcome.
Right, so grading is a process of organizing the coffee beans according to their sizes and their weights. However you word it, as long as you give us what grading is actually about, which is sorting of the beans according to their size and weight. Why do you think that the coffee beans are sorted? Let's take this call to help us. Good evening. Welcome to See Results.
Hi.
Hi, welcome. Who am I speaking with?
Duran Singh again.
Okay, so why do you think that the coffee beans are sorted?
Can you go back to the passage? I mean,
Sure.
the graphic, sorry.
Sure. Why do you think you will sort coffee beans?
The beans are sorted to remove the excess cherries.
Actually, we are looking at the reason why beans are sorted. You said to remove the excess cherries?
Yeah.
Okay, not quite. But you'll probably be awarded 1 mark for that answer. Do you have any other ideas about it?
No, I don't.
Okay, no problem. Thank you for calling. Right?
You're
So
welcome.
this question here, this answer, in fact, right, requires that you know a little bit about coffee beans, which I know a lot of people, of course, wouldn't have that knowledge to the back of their minds. But think about it logically. Why would you sort coffee beans if you are making coffee, right? Maybe to remove spoiled coffee beans or something like that, or maybe the ones that are not the best quality. So take that and put it into your own words. The coffee beans are sorted because the sizes and weight of the beans may determine the taste and quality of the coffee. So this here is actually the real reason, so in real life, why coffee beans are sorted. But like I said, you can use your creativity, your imagination a little bit with this question to help you answer, right? And you will be given your 2 marks as long as your answer is correct or closest to this. And our final question here. What is the purpose of the arrows in the chart? All right, good evening. Welcome to See Results. Hi, good evening, caller.
Yes, good evening.
Hi, who am I speaking with?
It's Chris again.
Okay, Chris, what is the purpose of the arrows in the chart?
What?
Did you hear the question?
I'm not hearing you.
Can you hear me now, Chris? Okay, let's take another call. Good evening. Welcome to See Results.
Hi, good evening.
Hi, who am I speaking with?
Good evening. Hello?
Hi, good evening. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I am.
Okay, who am I speaking with?
Regan again.
Okay, Regan, what is the purpose of the arrows in the chart?
Okay, so the purpose of the arrows is to show the certain steps and the proper way how the coffee is sorted.
Okay, so it shows us the steps.
It shows a sequence.
A sequence, excellent. Thank you so much.
Yep.
Right, so the purpose of the arrows is to show the reader the order or sequence in which the process of coffee takes place. Okay, guys, so that brings us to the end of our second SEA practice paper for this session, right? So meaning last week and this week. So we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to get started with some more work. Stay tuned with us. We'll be right back.
In order to maneuver through the COVID-19 pandemic, Trinidad and Tobago as a nation needs to work together in solidarity to support one another. The frontline workers and essential service workers are putting their lives at risk every day in order to ensure that those that are affected have the care that they need, that the virus is contained, and that we are able to access necessities during the quarantine period. As a business built on core family values for the past 95 years, we are honored to provide aid to our brave frontline medical staff who are going above and beyond in these uncertain times. We urge you to do your part as well in whatever way that you can in order to flatten the curve and support one another.
Assalamu alaikum. Good evening, guys. Welcome back to See Results. I'm Ms. Naila, and you are rejoining me for English Language Arts. So just before the break, we completed our practice paper, and now we're going to move on to another paper. As you know, if you were not able to join us earlier this week or even last week when we restarted the program, we are currently only doing SCA practice type papers because we have already completed all the content necessary to help us with the SCA exam. So now we are just putting what we know, our knowledge, into practice. So that's the best way forward, best way that we can help you ensure that you are ready for the upcoming exam. Now, moving on to the next paper, we are starting with, of course, task 1 in section 1, which is spelling. And as we usually do, we are going to read the passage, and then we are going to open the lines for some calls to help us with the corrections. Now, before we move on, I just want to mention that and on our Edmodo class, our new Edmodo class, and later on I'll be giving you that code again if you don't have it already. We have already posted quizzes there. And for those of you who are just joining us and not sure what Edmodo is all about, it's an educational online platform where we post quizzes weekly, so English language arts, creative writing, and mathematics based on the content covered. So this week or last week when we completed that session, we posted quizzes over the weekend. So currently there is an ELA quiz, a creative writing assignment, and a mathematics assignment there for you already. So if you did not submit those quizzes as yet, please, don't waste any time. It's a great way for us, not only for you to indicate, how well you're performing, but for us as well, so that we know that students are continuously practicing what they have been learning. That's the best way to stay on top of your game, right? It's through practice. So let's go on to our spelling task here. Sweat was pouring down Akil's face. The sun was blazing above as he stared at the finish line. His opponents were great athletes, but he had trained months for this and was determined to win. The pistol fired and he shot off like a cheetah, chasing its prey. All right, let's take this call on the line. Good evening. Welcome to See Results.
Good afternoon.
Hi, welcome. Who am I speaking with?
Zafira.
So, Zafira, help us with number 1. So you can read the first line for us, give us the incorrect spelling word, and then spell the correct word for me, okay?
Okay. Sweat was pouring down Akil's face.
Okay.
Pouring.
Pouring. And how should pouring be spelled?
Pouring.
Excellent job. Thank you so much for calling.
You're welcome.
All right. So in this case, we do not need to double our R's. All right. Let's move on to number 2. Good evening. Welcome to See Results.
Hello.
Hi. Welcome. Who am I speaking with?
Good afternoon.
Hi. Welcome to the program. Who am I speaking with?
Javen.
Hi, Javen. So number 2, read that line for us. Give us the incorrect word and correct spelling after.
Okay, so the line says, sun was blazing above as he stared at the... So
right.
The incorrectly spelled word is blazing.
Right.
And the spelling for it is Blazing.
Thank you so much for your call, Javen. Of course, that is correct. Right. Moving on to number 3. Good evening. Welcome to See Results. Hi, good evening, caller.
Yeah.
Hi, who am I speaking with?
Yes. Good afternoon.
Good
It's Chris again.
Okay, so go ahead with number 3.
The problem is athletes.
All right, so the incorrect word there is athletes, so the incorrect spelling. How should athletes be spelled?
Athletes.
Thank you so much for your call, Chris. All right, let's go on to number 4. Good evening. Welcome to See Results.
Hi, good evening.
Hi, welcome. Who am I speaking with?
It's Shanta.
Nice to have you with us. So would you like to read line 4 first?
Yes, please.
Okay, go ahead.
But he had trained months for this and was. The incorrect spelled word there is months, and it is spelled Months.
Thank you so much for calling. All right, and of course that is correct. Line 5. Good evening. Welcome to See Results.
Hi, good afternoon.
Hi, welcome.
Hi, this is Nicholas again. The line, our ready line,
Sure.
Determined to win the pistol fire as he shot determined is the incorrect spelling, right? So the correct spelling is supposed to be Getermined.
Okay, thank you, Nicholas. right? And of course, guys, that is correct.
Okay, you're welcome.
All right. And finally, line 6. Good evening. Welcome to See Results.
Hello, good evening.
Hi, good evening. Who am I speaking with? Can you hear me, caller?
Hello?
Hi, welcome to the program. Who am I speaking with?
Suran Singh.
Okay, so help me with number 6.
Pray?
Pray. What is wrong with pray? How should it be spelled?
P-R-E-Y?
P-R-E-Y. What does P-R-A-Y mean?
To thank God?
Yes, that is correct, okay? All right, thank you for calling.
Welcome.
Okay, so all right, guys, let's just go through this passage. Pouring, so it's P-O-U-R, so it's 1 R rather than doubling the letter there. So you have to know, this is not one of those words when you are adding ing that you need to double the last letter, right? So this spelling or pouring, the spelling of the word pouring, you should actually know how to spell it rather than doubling the letter by guessing, right? So this is one of those words you add to your spelling list and you memorize it. Blazing. So when we are adding ing to some words that end with E, we have to drop the E and then add ing, right? So blazing is one of those words. Athletes. Now it may sound like AT, but actually that H there is missing, right? So athletes. Moving on to months. So months being plural does not mean that you have to add ES. Simply add S to make it plural. Determined, right? You can easily mistake that I sound for that E letter, right? So it's D-E-T-E-R rather than D-E-T-I-R. So this is another word that you should know the actual spelling of by memorizing it. And finally, like our last caller just said, P-R-A-Y. So homophones in this case means like to worship God, and as opposed to P-R-E-Y. Right, so cheetah, chasing, it's prey, so for food. Right, so that brings us to the end of this task, and also we are out of time for English Language Arts today, but don't worry, guys. We do have English Language Arts every Monday and Tuesday, but don't go anywhere. When we come back, we are going to get started with creative writing. So stay tuned, we'll be right back. Assalamu alaikum. Good evening, guys, and welcome back to C Results. I'm Miss Naila, and you are now rejoining me for creative writing. So just before the break, we completed our English language arts session for today. And guys, I know probably some of you just came home, you missed the program, but don't worry. Once the live has ended, you can always rewatch the video. And of course, our YouTube channel, all these videos are uploaded. So just give it like 2 days after the program and the video will be there for you, okay? So it's easy for you to rewatch and pause and take notes, you know, go at your own pace. Probably we did something together and you are not sure about it. That's the great thing about having those videos uploaded for you, right? So you can, of course, learn at your own pace and then use it as a learning resource, of course. Don't forget to also mention to your friends, you know, if they aren't already on board with the C Results program, and to your neighbors, and to share this video on our live stream on Facebook, right? We want to get as many members on our Edmodo class as possible, and of course, members on board to help you get ready for the SE exam. So now we're going to move on to creative writing. Now, on Tuesday for creative writing, actually not Tuesday, last Thursday, for creative writing, we just completed a recap of narrative writing. So what we are doing for this new season is that we are recapping narrative style writing and expository style writing. And of course, as we usually do, we are sharing students' pieces with you and critiquing them. So last week we were able to complete narrative recapping. So we looked at, you know, all the details necessary for a story, you know, what you should know, things that you should leave out, you know, guidelines to adhere by. And for expository type writing, which we are going to be recapping today, we are going to be looking at, you know, the guidelines that we should be working with. And later on in the program, as we usually do on a Tuesday, Sir Ijaz is going to join us to share some of the pieces from students, you know, from the quiz that we posted that previous week. Right, so stay tuned for that. I know a lot of students look forward to having their work showcased on the program. So for expository style writing, you know, it can be a little tricky, a bit more difficult, not as straightforward as narrative writing. So students tend to have a little bit more difficulty. And even for this week, we already posted an expository assignment weekend for this week. And I am seeing that, you know, some students are already not only falling back, but they are not revising the guidelines to follow when you are writing a report. The benefit of you being home right now, guys, is that you can use your rubric, use all the learning materials, the resources that you have from school, and of course from the program here to assist you in practicing to write your reports. So in report writing, you have to know that there are some things that you just cannot do, right? As opposed to narrative writing, where it's a little bit more free. And, you know, it's at your leisure. You can write a little bit more comfortably. With report writing, you have to stick to the guidelines. And I'm just going to remind you guys a little bit about those guidelines now. Right? And starting off with expository style writing, just as we did with report writing, you should know what the rubric is all about, how the rubric is going to help you, why you need to know what the rubric entails. Right? How is that going to improve your quality of writing, the report that you give? How are you going to get that full 20 marks? Right? If you know that your weakness is report writing rather than narrative writing. Remember, for the SE exam, you don't know whether you will be given an expository or a narrative piece. Right? So that's why you need to master both types of writing, even if you prefer one over the other. So let's look at the expository rubric here. Right? You know, we know that it's very similar to the narrative style rubric. However, what differs is the different criteria here, or the individual criterion. So let's just recap this rubric in general. We know that 5 marks is the maximum that you can earn in each one of these criterion. The 4 criteria are content, language use, organization, grammar, mechanics. If you earn 5 marks in each of these, so the maximum of 5 marks means that you're exemplary in your writing. Means that it shows that you have exceeded the standard. And that's what I want for each and every student, right? To ensure that you understand what is expected from you throughout your writing and how to use the rubric to help you improve on your writing. So content, the first criterion in our rubric. So content talks about the relevant main ideas and supporting details, right? What happened from beginning to end. So when we talk about relevant main ideas, we are talking about sticking only to what is important with report writing, right? So you don't have to give additional supporting details. You don't have to explain. You don't have to expand. You don't have to go on and on. You don't have to give too many details, right? Or irrelevant details, I should say, rather, right? Of course, you should give details about the topic, but not irrelevant details. And just referring back to irrelevant details or to paragraph writing, we know that a paragraph, comprises of a main idea, supporting details, and a concluding sentence, which is optional in some cases, right? So with your reports, make sure that you stick to your main idea and your supporting details, because your supporting details are, of course, limited, and I'm going to expand on supporting details a little bit lower down when we get to language use and so on, because we cannot afford to go overboard with our supporting details, right? What happened from beginning to end? So that talks about, throughout your content, throughout your report, right? You must ensure that you cover all the important parts, what is asked of you in the topic given. Sometime in your topic given, you are asked to give date, time, location, and an account of the events that occurred, right? So make sure you covered all of that. Also, what is really important here, persons involved, first name and surname. Now, what do I mean by that? Right, so students, you should be asking yourself or even telling yourselves or your parents or whoever is sitting next to you at this time, well, Miss is referring to mentioning the persons involved in the incident, but not only mentioning by saying he or she. You must give the first name and the last name of the persons mentioned, right, or the persons involved in the incident. So at the beginning of your report, in your first paragraph, you should give the first name and the last name. If you are referring to that person again in your report, you can refer to them by their first name or last name. But when you are introducing someone for the first time, you must give the first name and the last name. And don't worry, when we go on a little deeper into recapping report writing, so as we did last season, where we looked at the introductory paragraph and looked at, some of the weaknesses in that, and students called and gave corrections and were able to identify, what were the mistakes and how it can be improved. We will also be doing that again when we move on to that part of report writing, right? Going on, location, date, and time. So in your content, right, ideally in your first paragraph, or at least very early in the second paragraph, give the location of the incident, give the date, very important, and time. So what must you have in content, guys? Of course, an account of what happened from beginning to end, right? The names of the persons involved in the incident, the location, date, and the time. You cannot afford to leave any of these out. Then you will not be awarded that full 5 marks, right? And that's what we are working towards. So the second part of the rubric, or the second criterion in the rubric, is language use. Now, what is language use, right? And how do you, identify what type of language to use with report writing? As we know, report writing is a formal style of writing, which means that we have an exclusive use of factual language, exclusive use of formal language, and fluent or varied sentence types. Right now, what do I mean by factual language? So factual language in a report means that you are writing strictly based on facts, right? You are not telling us about your opinion. You are not giving an opinion, as a matter of fact. Try to refrain from that as best as possible. Stick to the facts of the incident. So factual language will indicate that something is true or has happened. Even if you are making up your report, of course, that's fine, but stick to relevant details, stick to the actual incident, stick to what happened. If there was a fire, don't tell us about what the neighbors were doing. Don't tell us about what the students, if they were playing a game in the playfield, don't tell us about that. Stick to what is happening at that precise moment or at that exact time. Right? Also, informal and formal language as a part of language use. So informal and formal language, you must know the difference. And what is the type of language that we use in reports? Formal, as opposed to informal. But what does informal mean? or how can you differentiate between informal and formal writing? I have a couple examples here. Let's look at them and then we'll discuss. Right? They've been fighting all day, as opposed to they have been fighting all day. So you will notice here we have a contraction, right? So they've, so a contraction of they and have. So in formal writing, we do not use contractions. So you will notice here, you have to actually write out the entire word, right? So they have rather than they've, or I've, or isn't, or don't, right? All of those are contractions, so we are not using contractions in our writing. We feel that the time given is unrealistic. It is felt that the time given is unrealistic. So look at the wording of that phrase or that sentence, right? Look at the structure of it. We are refraining from pronouns such as I and pronouns such as we. We are trying to stick to your subject pronouns and your object pronouns, but you must know which you should use, right? Also with report writing, actually I'm going to get to that point now, so let me just go ahead and read the sentence and then I'll say that. I planned many different outcomes from the sports day. So what I was about to say initially, that subject pronoun I, we try our absolute best not to use that subject pronoun I in our writing, right? Do not use that subject pronoun. It gives the impression, you know, that you are speaking from first person. We do not want to speak from first person, but rather third person. Many different outcomes were planned for the school sports day. So notice the difference in use of the language. Also, the structure of your sentence, and of course, avoiding contractions in your writing. So these are just a couple examples, you know, that you can abide by or follow, use as a guideline, you know, if you're not sure what is formal, what is informal, as opposed to formal language in your writing. So if you have given me in your report so far, you know, a contraction or the subject pronoun or in first person, then you have to go ahead and revise what you have written. Okay, guys, please make that attempt to change that. Moving on, still in language use, we need to mention about sentence types. Of course, your examiner, just as with narrative writing, they are looking for variety. Variety in your sentences in this case. So just as with narrative writing, where we ask for simple sentences, compound sentences, and complex sentences, similarly with report style writing, we ask for variation as well. So just as we recapped, you know, different types of sentences last week when we were going through narrative writing, ensure that you know what each of those mean and how to build on your sentences, right? So how to go from simple to compound or compound to complex, right? Give a variety. It gives a nice touch. It makes your writing interesting. It shows the reader that you know what you are all about, what we are looking for. You have knowledge of the rubric. Moving on to the third criterion here, organization, right? So when we talk about organization in your writing, we are talking about sequence, right? How you lay out your report, the order in which something happens. Now, not only is that important in telling, you know, or giving an account of the incident that is happening or what you are telling us about, organization also involves clearly defined introduction, body, and conclusion. Meaning, I must know where your introduction is. I can tell where the body begins and the conclusion of your report. Now, what helps with that? Of course, paragraphing, right? So when we are writing a paragraph or starting a paragraph, how do we do that? We usually indent. So that is an indicator to the reader that, well, a new idea is about to begin here, right? So that is really important or crucial in your writing. Also, all ideas or paragraphs details are logically sequenced, meaning it must go in order, right? So you can't give the problem, the solution, and then the problem. Of course, you must give your problem and then your solution, and so on. Skillful use of transitional words and phrases to link ideas. Now, transitional words and phrases for report writing it's a bit different from narrative style writing. And I'm going to touch on those transitional words, although we did this already. I'm going to remind you of some of the transitional words that we should use in our reports, right? So there are ones that we certainly stay away from. We should not use at all in our reports. And then there are ones that we can use throughout our report writing. So you have to know which to use when. And then lastly, the last criterion in the rubric will be grammar mechanics. Now, this involves capitalization, use of parts of speech, punctuation, and spelling. Now, if this is usually your weak area, then that also means your task 1 or 2 and 3 in your ELA paper may be suffering. Now, why is that? Because they are both intertwined. You will notice in your ELA paper, we just completed a paper in the last, between today and yesterday, where section 1 is all about spelling, punctuation, capitalization, and grammar. So that is one way, that you can improve on those areas through mastering section 1 in your ELA paper. Once you're able to master that section 1, you have no worries for this last criterion or earning 5 marks in this part of the rubric, because you are already familiar with capitalization. How do you use capital letters? How do you use your grammar rules in writing? How to recognize errors, how to correct those errors. You are aware of different parts of speech, as well as punctuation. And of course, spelling, really important, right? So make sure that you master this not only for ELA, but of course, we know that it's really important for creative writing. So here I'm going to share with you a couple tips, for report writing. And when I say tips, I mean some of the guidelines, that you should be aware of when you're writing a report. So after you have written your report, you can go back to these tips here, and you can probably use it as a checklist, right? So let's see what I mean by that. So be aware of your audience. So you have to know who you are writing the letter to. And that usually comes from the topic, right? So write to your principal, your teacher, and so on. So that's easy, right? Use past tense form of verbs. So after you have written your report, ask yourself, well, did I use past tense throughout my report? Remember, in a report writing, this is given an account of something that happened already. So therefore, it is in the past, so we have to use the past tense. Not the past continuous, not the present tense, right, guys? So be very particular with that, with the use of your past tense verbs. Use varied sentence types. Did I use a variety of sentences in my writing? Did I give simple sentences? Did I give compound sentences? Did I give examples of complex sentences? Right? So ensure that you give a variety, just as I mentioned earlier, with sentence types, so language use. Avoid use of pronouns I and we. Right? So this was also mentioned with informal language or speaking in first person, right? So check this off your list as well. So if you go back, if you're going through your report and you see that you use the pronoun I or use the pronoun we, please, guys, make an attempt to restructure your sentence, right? Try your absolute best to avoid using I or we in your writing. Sometimes it's really, really unavoidable, but as best as you can definitely try. No descriptive language. So ask yourself, did I use descriptive language in my writing? Did I appeal to the sense or to the 5 different senses? Did I use figurative language? Any of that. So also with descriptive language, we are talking about the use of adjectives as well. So this one here is a bit tricky with use of adjectives. For example, in report writing, right? If you have to talk about an accident on the road, and you want to say a blue car, right? Now, sometimes you may hear that you should not write a blue car or use the adjective blue to describe the car, right? But if you do, keep it at bare minimum. So just say blue car instead of saying a navy blue car or a light blue car or a sky blue car, right? Notice the difference with that. As basic as you can, give the description. That's how we would like it, right? So avoid descriptive language. What about dialogue, right? So if you use dialogue in your writing, give conversation, then something is definitely wrong, right? There should be absolutely no dialogue, no speech in your report. Save that for narrative writing to make your writing interesting, right? So with report writing, absolutely no dialogue, no conversation should be taking place between two speakers or two or more speakers. Factual language only. As mentioned before, factual language speaks about something that is true or something that had happened only. Transitional words used must be specific to reports, right? And moving on shortly, we are going to discuss a bit more on transitional words. Length. Students should not overwrite. So sometimes, because we are so accustomed with narrative style writing and narrative being probably about 5 or 6 paragraphs, we think that report writing should also be about 5 to 6 paragraphs. But ideally, your report can be about 3 to 4 paragraphs, and that is fine. Remember, with a report, you don't have description, you don't have additional details, or you don't have too many details that are irrelevant and all of that. So that is therefore going to make your report shorter. And also, you are sticking to facts, right? So that alone is going to make your writing shorter. So don't worry about it if you wrote your report and you are down to 3 or 4 paragraphs. That is fine, guys. Make sure you have covered everything that the topic has asked for, but you did not give too many details about it, okay? So that's, you know, a tip you can adhere by if you're an overwriter, right? You tend to overachieve a little bit. You don't have to with your reports. Good. So now I want to talk about transitional words for reports. As I mentioned, transitional words for reports are specific to reports only. Of course, these can lap over into narrative writing, but some of the narrative transitional words and phrases cannot lap over into report writing, right? So if we're talking about time, or we're giving examples of time in a report, these are some of the transitional words that you can use in your report, right? So you don't have to learn all of them, but you should know at least probably 5 in each section of them, so you are acquainted with some of the transitional words that you should be using in your writing. So for example, you can use while or next, first or firstly, second, secondly, third, thirdly, as soon as, afterwards, yesterday, later, about, after, before, during, now, until, meanwhile, next week, soon, finally, then, right? So these are transitional words here, but specific, right? And they get straight to the point, as opposed to the transitional word suddenly, for example, right? Suddenly there tells of something else. If I use the word suddenly, it indicates something, you know. We know the meaning of the word suddenly, but as opposed to the word first or second, right, where it's a bit more specific. If you're comparing and contrasting something, you can use likewise, like, also, as, while, similarly, in the same manner, but, however, still, yet, although, otherwise, on the other hand, on, even, though. You can even use transitional words to emphasize a point. So we want to emphasize something, right? You can say again, to repeat, truly, in fact, especially, to emphasize, for this reason. Usually when we are writing reports, we don't really emphasize points all the time, but if you do need to, these are some examples that you can use. To add information, right? Again, as well, another, besides, for instance, along with, for example, other, also, next, and finally, moreover, in addition, or additionally. To clarify a point, that is, for instance, in other words. As I mentioned earlier, you may not use all of these transitions or transitional words at once, or even presently in your style of report writing, but at some point you may need them, right? This is why I'm saying it's good to be familiar with the list, right? It's good that, you know, you go back, you revise, you recap, you know, you keep an open mind. What about to conclude or to summarize your report? Finally, lastly, as a result, therefore, to sum up, all in all, in conclusion, and or because, right? So those are some examples of the transitional words, you know, that you can use in your writing. Again, I must reiterate, be very careful when you are using transitional words. Yes, your examiner is paying attention to how you use your transitional words, but also when you are using transitional words, you must use them appropriately, right? So you just can't decide, well, I know this transitional word, so I'm just going to insert it in this line, right? So be a little mindful of how you are using those words, and it must make sense. The purpose of a transitional word is for a smooth flow. Right? So if you just insert a transitional word that is not necessary there, then you're going to cause confusion to the reader. It's not going to make sense. So when we move on next to our reports, in recapping, we are going to look at, an example of a report, and we are going to analyze it together. And then I'm going to take calls as I usually do, and students will, identify, well, what is wrong in paragraph 1? What are the mistakes in paragraph 2? How can you correct or improve on paragraph 3, right? So ideally, I'm talking about your introduction, your body, and your conclusion, right? So make sure that you go back to our videos. If you have not been revising, I hope that you have, right? And go back to our videos on our YouTube channel. And of course, you can also visit our Facebook page on C results, right? So go back to those videos, recap about report writing. Like I said, when I have already started looking at the reports or the assignment that we gave over the weekend, which was a report. And a lot of students, I'm seeing that they are not following the guidelines. It's as easy as using the checklist that I provided for you earlier to go along with your writing. If you think that using a rubric, is too much work, that you need to read, well, what is content all about, and then language use is giving you some trouble, use that checklist, guys. It's going to help you, right? It's in point form, it's easy to read, it's easy to follow, and I promise you it's going to improve your writing greatly, right? And then again, we have been seeing some students who have been increasing and improving rather very well throughout their writing, right? From this time we started the program last November to now, their writing has definitely improved. Because on our Edmodo page, for those of you who don't know, we usually give feedback. So we would correct those essays, narrative or report, using the rubric, and give students a little tips, about some things that, are missing, or some areas of weakness and strengths, right? We always highlight that. But if you, for instance, I give a critique such as follow guidelines for reports, I mean those guidelines that I gave earlier, right? Where you are looking at past tense and no descriptive language and all of those things. So please adhere to them. It's going to really improve your writing and get you ready for that exam. So that's about it for expository writing recap. Up next, when Sejas joins us, we are going to look at some students' pieces from the previous week, where we gave a narrative style writing, and he's going to, showcase some of that. I know students look forward to that. They have been messaging all week asking us to show their work. But don't worry, guys, we're just going to take a break. It's time for Maghreb. When we come back, we are going to be joined by Sejas, and he's going to share that with you. So stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Good evening, Assalamu alaikum, and welcome back to C Results on IBN TV, as well as the IBN TV Facebook page and the C Results Facebook page. So for the first time since we've come back on air, 2 weeks later, or in our second week, I should say, we are here with you once again reading your pieces, your submissions for the creative writing segment of C Results. Okay, so weekly we post our quizzes, we post our writing assignment, so an English, a math, and a writing assignment every week. And Ms. Nyla and myself, we grade the creative writing assignments. Of course, the math and the English, we put the answers in advance, so the computer does that marking, but we have to read your creative assignments. And boy, let me tell you, it's really a fun ride reading it sometimes. For better or for worse, the students always amaze us with some of the things that they put out, all right? And more often than not, it's very good writing. And of course, our students, they are now at a level where they should be quite proficient. We know that things have dragged on much longer than they would have hoped due to the unfortunate circumstances. But we are here and we will try to get you, get that rust off of you and have you ready for whenever that announcement is made and we know the date. So last week, Ms. Nyla spent some time recapping narrative writing for you, okay? All the different skills, all the different tools. Of course, we did all of that very much in depth in our first season. And so you can visit our YouTube channel, C Results, or if you prefer, you can go to Facebook. We've sorted the videos on Facebook into playlists as well. So you can go there and you can look at our videos. The YouTube videos have very detailed descriptions, and you can go through basically our whole, well, I want to say truncated, but summarized, condensed course in narrative writing. It will not go as in-depth as you might over the course of your 2 years with your Standard 5 teacher, Standard 4, Standard 5 teacher, but it's pretty in-depth and very helpful, okay? So if you're now joining us and you feel as though you're not very competent in narrative or expository writing, you can go and look at those videos and participate in our weekly quizzes and assignments. We have a new Edmodo class. Some of you have already made the switch from our old Edmodo class. We are inviting everyone else who hasn't up until this point to do so. The code is J55AHA, all right, J55AHA. And of course, those of you who would like to be joining us for the first time, this might be, the first time you're learning about C Results and you'd like to get involved, you create a new account and you input this code and you will be a member of our class. So what are the instructions, or what were the instructions for our narrative writing assignment that was posted before we even came back on air, all right, the weekend before? So the instructions were, write an exciting story which includes the following sentence. If I had to do it all over again, I would do it differently. Remember to include details about what you did, why you did it, and how you felt about your actions. And this actually was taken from a past paper, okay? So this is something that you can really get when you go into that examination room, something like this. And you are given quite clear instructions. You must include this sentence. So we did have an unfortunate, 1 or 2 essays amongst the many that were submitted where people did not include the sentence. Of course, you are going to lose marks for that. It's there. I mean, it's clearly stated that you have to include this sentence and you have to include details as required. So let's look at one of those submissions, and remember, this is how you are marked. You have the different achievement levels and the different criteria: content, language usage, organization, grammar, and mechanics. And again, I'm just putting that back there so that you are aware of it, and you can go and look at all of Ms. Nyla's videos going through all of those various criteria and the lessons that would help you to master all of them. All right, remember, as she said, you don't know for sure whether you will be given a narrative piece or an expository piece for your exam, so you have to be familiar with the both styles of writing and be able to execute it as well as you can. So let's read. It was a beautiful Saturday. The cerulean sky was as blue as a millionaire's swimming pool. A glittering sun rays spread various hues of shiny silvers and golds, covering man-made structures. So I'll just pause there. You know, that word cerulean, I'm sure many of our viewers do not know what cerulean means. As a matter of fact, this one took me by a little surprise because I myself was not familiar with the word, but it has to do with the blue color. All right, so go, of course, by the context, we could infer that, but we have to ensure that these words are sound, all right? Remember, there are many words in the English language, and we won't know all of them, even teachers, so I was quite impressed with this. And as a matter of fact, I was impressed with so many of our submissions, the vocabulary that some of our Standard 5 students were able to display. So you are going to wow your examiner. Of course, make sure when you are using words, you are using them in the right context and with the right meaning, the right spelling, and so on. All right, otherwise you will just look like you're making it up. But if you do have a good grasp of the vocabulary and you know its meaning, then feel free to use it, all right? This is very well done. Right, the glittering sun waves spread various hues of shiny silvers and golds covering man-made structures. A full stop could have been used there. Remember, we talked about the run-on sentences. So we don't want to have sentences that are too lengthy, especially if it is possible for us to break it up and to still preserve the meaning that we are trying to convey. All right? So we've got to put a full stop over there. The faint chirping of birds played along with Mother Nature's music, making her plants dance. All right, so that is very wonderful, descriptive, figurative language there. Okay, so the author is hearing the faint chirping of birds playing along with Mother Nature's music, making her plants dance. So what imagery that creates in our mind. It was a perfect day as my mom, my father, big sister, and I were packing to go on a trip to Maracas Bay. And I know lots of us are longing to go to Maracas Bay, myself included. As we finished packing the list of items, we headed down the road to our trip. As the miles flew by, I was watching the tall, faintly green, primeval trees bow to the heavens. My heart bubbled with excitement. All right, so once again, we are seeing a very good use of vocabulary here. Primeval meaning back to a time, at the beginning of time, basically. So the author here is describing trees that seem to have been there for a very long time, okay? And the miles flew by. Of course, the miles aren't actually flying by. Again, more figurative language there. Okay, nice descriptions of the trees. Tall, faintly green, primeval, of course, a very good adjective there. That is going to wow your examiner as well. Bow to the heavens, so he's using a personification as well. Okay, actually, who is the author? I said he just now, but I want to make sure. Yes, Christian Sampson. All right. So the trees, they bowed. Yes, heavens bubbled with excitement. Right, bowed to the heavens. My heart bubbled with excitement. So wonderfully done. Giving the trees there, that human quality of bowing, okay, to the heavens, making some almost prayerful imagery. My heart bubbled with excitement. I've been waiting for this trip for what seemed like forever. 1 hour later, we arrived at Maracas Bay, and I saw sparkling blue ocean waves crawling gently to the shore, activating a post-hypnotic suggestion in my brain to go in the water. All right, so this author, this Christian Sampson, is clearly a very inquisitive young man. This post-hypnotic suggestion is, some terms that are related to hypnosis and so on. So I don't know what Christian has been watching on YouTube, so parents do look into that as well. All right, but it's a post-hypnotic suggestion. It's something that is said to you when you're in that state of hypnosis to get you to do something. All right, might be a little unusual for our viewers out there, but it shows, knowledge of certain things that you may not expect a young person to have, but it was used appropriately here. It makes sense. All right, so the waves crawling gently, activating a post-hypnotic suggestion in my brain to go in the water. In other words, it feels like the water is calling him in and he has no control over it, as though he is in a state of hypnosis. All right, so that's wonderfully done. Very mature writing there for a young person. The water was pulling me like a magnet. nice use of simile there as well, related to the point that he is expressing. I jumped out of the car and I sank my feet into the golden sand that was kissed by the sun. Wait, Christian, don't, my mom exclaimed as she spooked me out of that post-hypnotic suggestion. We need to eat first before going into the water, son, she said. We ate our favorite beach food, roti, chana, and aloo. I rushed down my food, barely tasting it. As soon as I was finished eating, I went to the water, but again, Mommy called me back. All right? She told me to never go into the water as soon as I am finished eating. I have to wait half an hour until the food digests. She suggested that I lie back in the sand and relax a bit. As my mom was having a conversation with my sister Alice, I snuck past them and dove in the shallow blue water. I swam like a fish and played like a dog. I was having so much fun that I could barely hear my family trying to get my attention. Look out behind you, my sister stammered. Behind me was the king of waves, dashing towards me with lightning speed. All right, so again, very nice figurative language here. When you see that, king of waves, obviously you know that it's not an actual king, but you're thinking about king, you're thinking about something large, something powerful. All right, dashing towards me with lightning speed. My heart palpitated as I gasped for air. My hair stood still. Every muscle in my body tensed as the monstrous wave barreled towards me. Hastily, I kicked my legs and sped with all my strength to land, but it was in vain. I was feeling lethargic from the meal I had just consumed. All right, again, nice use of vocabulary here throughout this entire story, okay? So lethargic meaning sluggish, meaning lazy. Unfortunately, the massive wave crashed on me with lots of heavy pressure, and its strong current dragged me out to sea. I could no longer feel the kissed golden sand on my feet. Helplessly, I looked around and saw nothing but endless water. I was so far away from land that I couldn't see the shore. Trepidation engulfed me as the water covered my head. Again, more vocabulary, right? Good words. And students, if you don't know all of these words, I want you to take a note of them. I want you to go to your dictionary after you've watched this program and learn the meaning of these words. Write them down and be in the habit of, or at least practice including them in your writing. You have some time to practice with us. Okay, when you're practicing with us, you're not doing the actual exam. So if you use a word out of context, you try, and we see that you've used it incorrectly, of course, we're going to let you know and in the comments, right? Remember, everybody gets feedback on their essays, right? Even if it's not read, we try to choose essays at random so that we don't read the same authors all of the time. But yes, if you're using words incorrectly, we will let you know in the comments, of course. So you learn them, you try to get the hang of them, and remember when you go to that examination room that you should use the words that you are confident with, right? That won't be the time to experiment. Suddenly, I felt a pair of arms grabbing me. I turned and a man was holding me. I barely made out the words, Maracas Bay Lifeguard, on his yellow shirt. I was saved, I thought in relief. Release your body, just let the water carry you, he instructed. All right, so again, we have to ensure that we capitalize our words there. Okay, minor error in an otherwise well done piece. I had no problem with that. I was feeling tired. He grabbed my hand and pulled me to shore. As we reached the shore, I lay on the sand exhausted. My mother and sister sprinted toward me and gave me a hug. You could have gotten yourself killed, Mommy exclaimed. I even promised them that I would always be careful while on the beach. If I had to do it all over again, I would do it differently. And this is by Christian Sampson, all right? So you can come back to me there, guys. Christian, this is very, very well done, excellently done. And in the instructions, they said that you have to include this sentence. If I had to do it all over again, I would do it differently, right? And they put it in quotation marks to show that that is the sentence that you have to use. It does not mean that it has to be in quotation marks in the story. Of course, it can be if you're using it, as part of a direct speech or something like that. But in this particular final sentence here, the use of the quotation marks was not necessary. It could have just ended. If I had to do it all over again, I would do it differently. So this is an example of what we are looking for, all right? Of course, if you look very closely, you may find a grammatical error here or there, a punctuation mark off, misplaced, all right? And there are marks awarded for all of these things, so we have to perfect them. And again, I would advise you to go to Ms. Nyla's videos. All of our Season 1 videos, they are so helpful, guys. So go to our YouTube channel, see results, look at them, and make sure you implement them into your writing. And of course, we do English language arts twice a week on the program. And within that, you're going to get exercises on all of these things, on punctuation, capitalization, spelling, grammar, and so much more, okay? So I want you very much to look at those videos and to try to apply what you're learning to your own writing. And one of the things that you will come to realize, and that I have said many times on the program before, is that a good reader, or being a good reader, or a consistent reader, will improve your writing naturally. Okay, so I read some stories here. Unfortunately, we can't give all of them. I read so many stories and marking these together with Ms. Nyla, and it clearly shows where some inspiration was taken, from books that the students would have read, and it really does help, okay? And you can tell the students who are just, they're learning some formulas to use within their writing and playing it safe, sticking to what they have been told by their teachers. Of course, you stick to the basics, master the fundamentals. But when you read a lot, that gives you inspiration to draw from in your own writing, okay? And it really tells and it really comes through in your writing. The use of all of these advanced vocabulary words in this piece tells me that this child is someone that reads, that has a curious mind, okay? So that is excellent, and we want to encourage that. So let's move on to our second story here. So let's begin. A bright white light shone from above, highlighting my professionally done makeup and stunning red and white costume. The cheers coming from the exuberant crowd gathered in the Northern Academy for Performing Arts grew louder and louder. The vibrations of the music could be felt coursing through my veins. All the hairs on my body stood on end, for this was my first solo performance before a large audience. The stamp of my feet triggered the 100 bells on my feet, causing a melodious jingle. I was performing a devotional dance at the Prime Minister's Best Village competition, one of the most prestigious cultural competitions in Trinidad and Tobago. For weeks, I religiously perfected my dance to achieve excellence. Unfortunately, all my efforts were in vain. Thump was the sound made when I unexpectedly plummeted to the ground. All right, nice use of onomatopoeia there. About a minute into the song, while attempting to do a spin, the rope of my bells became undone. Like a snake slowly unwinding itself from around my ankle, it instead entangled itself around my feet, and to my horror, I found myself falling. Immediately, my cheeks turned pink with shame. I felt a sharp pain in my ankle. I made several attempts to get up to continue dancing, but it was an exercise in futility. All right, that's a very nice phrase there. Learn that one, be able to use that one. Exercise in futility, meaning you're trying, but it's futile, it's not working out. My pain grew incredibly. My eyes became scalding pools of barely held back tears as I looked at the now whispering crowd. Very good writing here. Suddenly, the music stopped. The talking got louder. I wished the stage could open up and swallow me. Moments later, Mommy and my dance teacher came to my assistance and helped me backstage. I wished I could go back in time and change the outcome. Mommy wiped away my tears, but she could not remove my embarrassment. In the end, I went to the hospital where I was diagnosed with a sprained ankle. Do not feel bad. These things happen, my dance teacher remarked in comfort. He, together with an older dancer, began telling me stories of their funniest, most humiliating falls. Their words comforted me, but I knew in my haste I had neglected an important step in my preparation. All right, so I just want to go back to the top of this page here. Do not feel bad. These things happen. My dance teacher remarked in comfort. But what the author here is trying to say is that my dance teacher remarked comfortingly, all right? So it's not that the dance teacher is comfort, probably in comfort, laying back on a sofa or something while he's talking to her. But that is what in comfort would imply, all right? So the dance teacher is making this remark in a comforting manner, right? So she could have said, my dance teacher remarked comfortingly, or in a comforting tone or something like that. So he, together with an older dancer, began telling me stories of their funniest, most humiliating falls. Their words comforted me, but I knew in my haste I had neglected an important step in my preparation. If I had to do it again, I would do it differently. See, notice here we did not have to use the sentence in quotation marks or as part of any exchange of dialogue. I would have done as my guru always advised and triple-checked the knot on my bells before my performance. And this was done by Caitlin Bernard. All right, so excellent, excellent writing. Just a few minor errors there that we would have identified. I liked it very much. So many of our submissions, and not that anything is wrong with that, by the way, but so many of our submissions had to do with copying in a test. All right, I don't know why that's so... why that was so prevalent for this particular exercise, attempting to copy in a test and being caught, okay? And, if you do it well, you execute it well, as some of our writers did, very much so. It's very well done. But you don't always want to go with the cliche thing, all right, with what you think of maybe off the bat when you hear, if I had to do it all over, I would do it differently, about getting caught. It does not necessarily have to be that way. Okay, as we see here, this is something very refreshing. If your examiner is reading stories that all sound more or less the same, it can get quite boring. All right, now that's not entirely your fault, but if you are able to write something that's out of the box, all right, something a little bit different that others may not think about, that is excellent. All right, who's going to think that this story will be about some beads becoming undone on a dancer's anklet? I think it was something like that, because she did not follow the advice of a dance guru. All right, so that was quite well done, Caitlin Bernard. Congratulations, well done to you and to Christian. We have many, many more submissions that we can read from, and we will continue to do so. Ms. Nyla will on Thursday when we do mathematics at 5 p.m., followed by creative writing again at 6 p.m. Thank you so much, guys. We really appreciate your enthusiasm. We know you want us to read every one of your pieces. We can't, but if you continue submitting every week, the likelihood that yours will be read will increase, of course. All right, so continue sending in those submissions. We have an expository piece due this Friday at 11:59 p.m., along with a math and an English language arts assignment, or quiz, actually. So get on those, get on our Edmodo page, and look forward to your work being presented here. Thank you so much. I have been Sir Ijaz, and we look forward to seeing you Thursday again, God willing. Good evening. Assalamu alaikum.